Ready? Welcome in to This Week in Missouri Politics midweek update. We are, it's kind of a busy week. You'd think spring break wouldn't be busy, but the state of Missouri has been hit by some really terrible storms, and one of the persons of the many people that are out doing cleanup and taking care of their community is Representative Tara Peters from a very hard-hit Rolla. Also joined by my buddy Gussie, whose school was hit this week as well. He's with me for the week. Representative Peters, thank you for making the time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Scott. Thank you for asking.
So I drove through Rolla this weekend. I saw some of the streets were closed. What I saw was the streets lined with folks taking chainsaws out of their trucks, pulling front end loaders out, off of trailers. What is the situation like in Rolla right now?
So we set up a mobile command center, a volunteer center in front of the Big Lots parking lot Sunday at 1 o'clock. So every day, 9 to 5, anybody that's wanting to volunteer, if you've got a trailer, if you have a dump truck, if you have a skid steer, if you've got hands, anybody and everybody's invited to come and show up. And every day, the sheriff and the team, the mayor, and all of our resource law enforcement have a map. And basically, Scott, anywhere that's had damage or anything that needs to be done, they prioritize that. So when the volunteers show up, they put them together in teams, and then those teams are sent out to those areas that need the most assistance. And so it's been going great since Sunday. I've never been more proud of Phelps County and the people that are in it. They've really just come together to help with anything and everything, and the leadership here has been amazing.
It really is interesting to see how folks, especially in rural Missouri, come together. There's not necessarily all the institutional government things, but it's just regular folks helping their neighbors. I did see where the schools in Phelps County, it was almost bizarre. It would skip homes and hit schools. How many of your school buildings are damaged?
So our elementary schools were hit the hardest. So Mark Twain, Truman, and Wyman schools all suffered damage. The worst one was Mark Twain. They've already started bulldozing that down. They started taking that. It was a cafeteria area. The roof had caved in. And so they're already bulldozing that down today to get that structural damage taken care of. But our students and school system, those students will just be displaced for quite some time. Our school system has done an amazing job. We've got teachers that are packing their rooms and going on roofs to see and assess the damage. Again, they've done an amazing job within the last, 72 hours. They've already come up with a plan where those students are going to be shifted to some other buildings. We have a Rolla Technical Institute, so some of those kids are going to be shifted there. Some other kids are going to be shifted around. So they've come up with a great plan. We are working today, though. Obviously, the Mark Twain School, the cafeteria was hit. So even though we're going to have those students at some of the other places, providing food and figuring out how we're going to feed all those kids is something that they're working on as we speak.
So I saw where you're off school for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so our students were supposed to be on spring break next week. So at least this week, yes, they're out of school. Next week, they'll be on spring break. And then hopefully the plan will be all put together and implemented. It's going to be rough because, we're having to pick students up and drop them off at different locations. So I don't know what all that looks like yet. But the plan is to still get back to it the Monday after next week.
So when they do that, I understand in other situations, like in Joplin, the state did not hold you responsible for that week. Is that the case going to be here? The state's not going to withhold money if you don't get those 5 days in?
I spoke to Governor Kehoe last evening, and he has assured me and all of the places that were hit that the monies that are going to go to the schools when those kids are not going is going to be taken care of. We've also had some requests, at least from my school system. This is the time in the spring when they do all of that state testing. And so they're asking for some grace or some possible waivers to maybe alleviate some of that because we don't know what that's going to look like yet.
I remember taking those tests. It was always a race who would get done first. You had to go to recess after. So the faster you got them damn things done, the quicker you had to go outside.
Yeah, so I spoke with Carla yesterday, and they're working on that. Plus some other things that people don't think of as a result of us not having our kids in school this week is that, people that have to go to work, we talk about, lack of daycare and workforce development. So we've got some daycares that are trying to have some open slots so that people can get their kids to school. So we have a little bit of, government red tape.
Yeah.
People that are wanting to volunteer don't have a fingerprint, or they don't have this, or they don't have that. I understand that we have to follow state statutes, but I think that we need to have a little more leniency when it comes to trying to get parents to get kids dropped off, especially in the fact that we aren't having school this week. So working on some of those issues.
It's probably hard to think of anything else when you're in the middle of a storm like this. But I understood you were having an entire community-wide cleanup on Friday.
Yes. So my LA Jacob Brown has sent out an email to all of the caucus and the Capitol and the government higher ups, just saying that on Friday at noon, we are going to gather at the command center, the volunteer command center in Rolla, just to show a little bit of solidarity from our state leaders and state officials to come to Rolla and just spend a couple hours cleaning up, seeing some of the damage, supporting our community. And so I've sent that invitation out. But anybody and everybody in Jefferson City, it's just an hour and a 15-minute drive to Rolla from there. If you'd like to come and help us clean up and support the Rolla community from the damage that we've had, we welcome anybody and anybody who wants to come.
Let's talk about, it seems like a long time ago because of the storm, but you wrapped up the first half of session. It felt like I hate to say this, but a semi-productive first half of session.
Yeah, no, I think we got a lot of stuff done. I definitely, for comparing it to last year, I think we're out the gate pretty good. Took some hard votes on some bills this past week. SB 4, the Prop A bill, school choice, and so thought we were going to come home to spring break and get away from that a bit, and then we had a tornado on Friday. So, I think first half went really good. Looking forward to moving forward in the second half and getting some other stuff done as well.
It seems like the House kind of had rural Missouri in mind. The Senate, it kind of feels like it's the St. Louis St. Louis Senate, right? I mean, if you're not a trial lawyer, there's not a lot for you coming out of the Missouri Senate right now.
Well, they're focusing on their issues, and the House is focusing on theirs.
Well, it seems like the House is focused on rural Missouri and urban Missouri, but the Senate is pretty much, it just feels like an obsession with the city of St. Louis, where no one voted for a Republican at all.
Sure. Well, that was one of the governor's priorities. The crime bill needed to get done, and he was, making sure that we had that done.
You start talking about transgender stuff. That's a St. Louis issue. You start talking about the St. Louis Police Department. I actually think Mike Keogh's doing this because he thinks it's the right thing to do. I don't see any political upside in messing with that hornet's nest. Good for him. I respect him even more than he is. But you have, right now, they're going to sue glyphosate out of production right now. The Farm Bureau is trying to offer health plans to rural Missourians. None of those things have got any traction in a Missouri Senate seemingly obsessed with the city of St. Louis.
Well, I'm hoping that our leadership on our side is going to, work out some deal, because the second half, yeah. I agree with you. I think that the health insurance for our farmers is important. I think that the stuff that we're trying to get passed is helping our citizens and our common people and those that are here in rural Missouri. And, now we're focusing on, clean up, and not just my rural town. I know you're going to be speaking to Representative Parker here, whose district was hit as well. And so, I feel confident and good and have a good feeling that we are definitely taking care of our rural districts.
Is it just one of those things where you're going to have to take some of the urban Republican, I guess is the St. Louis Senate's St. Louis priorities, and hold them hostage like they used to do your priorities to get them to pass things for rural Missouri?
Well, you said it, not me, Scott. You know how this system works. And so I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Some issues that are important to us are going to have to be heard and presented, or I think that, their side stuff is going to be held up a little bit.
The urban Republicans in the Senate have it down. They hold their breath and throw a fit and put a bunch of stuff on Facebook when they don't get their way. They've kind of mapped out how you get Senate leadership to do things for you. Maybe it's time. I mean, John Patterson has a big desk with a lot of drawers in it. Maybe it's time to stuff some of that legislation in it.
Well, I might not disagree with you on that. So, obviously they've got some stuff they want to get done the second half, and we've got stuff that we want to get done in the second half. So there's going to be some negotiations.
I got to show you something cool. Check this out. Ann in St. Louis. Thank you, not Wagner. Thank you so much. Gussie, this was a gift to you. It is the St. Louis Sun the day Gussie Bush passed away. Look at that. How cool is that?
Really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
We got to get that for your room, right? That is a neat thing. Thank you so much. I always appreciate the Steins, but when you give something for Gussie, especially something cool, like look at the backside. It's got him at Busch Stadium. Now, Gussie, you have that same jacket, that same cowboy hat, that same bolo tie, don't you? They may not fit as well as they used to, but you have them, right?
Yeah, I have.
I love
you'll
it.
have to have Dad take you to the Hobby Lobby and get that framed for your room.
We will have to get that framed. That's what we'll do this afternoon. Always want to thank our sponsors, United Fiber, who, you don't understand how much you appreciate the folks at the co-ops if the power goes out. Then those folks like at United Electric, and then all the co-ops up and down southeast and southern Missouri. Those folks, as I was driving back north on Friday, I saw 4 or 5 different co-op caravans of folks coming down to help get the power back on. Nobody does more for this state than our co-ops.
I cannot say enough good things about our electric companies and the response that we've gotten from surrounding communities. If you want to see some amazing video, you should go to my Facebook page. 24 hours after the tornado hit, down 72, one of our main streets down Rolla, I took a video and every single pole was being put in, and we had bucket trucks that were holding up the lines, and it was just for about, a quarter of a mile. And it was an amazing shot to just see that those electric companies, 24 hours after we've had a tornado, and it hit the middle of our town, Scott. I mean, it severed our major, I know we still have some people without electricity, and I understand that they've been out for quite some time. But I mean, if we had to really think about the destruction that tornado caused and the amount of people that we have back online, it is just a true testament to our electric companies and our co-ops. They've done an amazing job, and we've had some great leadership here in Phelps County.
Want to thank you again for joining us. Check this out. I got Jeff Vernetti. Who thought he had pasta sauce? Look at this. This is actually stuff he sells. It was so funny to me. I remember Chad Perkins. If you're a Missouri Republican and you haven't got a hit piece from the Post-Dispatch, well, you haven't made it yet. I was very proud of Jeff. He got his first Post-Dispatch hit piece.
I saw that. So did he send some pasta sauce as like a,
Well, he might have said the pasta sauce to get him to hit him, because Kehoe, Parsons, go down the list of successful Republicans. They've all got their first hit piece. They all probably have it somewhere. I've got one. Gussie, before long, you'll have one. Don't worry about it. It'll come. I was kind of happy for a rural Missouri guy to get his first smear piece from the Post. If he's successful, there'll be many more to come.
Yeah, you're right. That kind of is the true mark that you've made it, right?
That's how you know you're doing the right things and going the right places.
So is that from Jeff's district, or he's actually hand making that pasta sauce?
So it's from his district, and it's his recipe. So I have not got. We actually screwed up. We had spaghetti last night when we got home, didn't we? We should have waited and asked Casey if she would work in this pasta sauce. This is Italian dress. This is going to be what Casey actually likes. The spaghetti sauce is more up mine and your alley, right? It's going to be cool. Representative Peters, thank you so much for the time. I know you're busy. I know you got a ton of folks calling. And we're going to do our best to see you Friday, right? Noon at the command post? Where's the command post at, for folks wondering?
So the command post is at 1101 Bishop Avenue. It's right in front of our downtown area, in front of what used to be the Big Lots, which is half destroyed. But that parking lot, which has got the Big Lots and the Hobby Lobby in it, you can't miss it. We've got a giant command center set up at a tent. People are dropping off. I mean, the amount of people that have made meals and, just brought food to everybody. And, you just don't think about things like people that don't have electricity. We had a senior apartment complex where those elderly, and they haven't had electricity for days. And so we sent people out door to door, and they needed things like, batteries and candles and, phone chargers that you didn't have to plug into the wall. So we've just had a lot of people just come up with a lot of things. And again, the response here of taking care of our own has just been amazing. And so I'm proud to be a Phelps Countian.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Representative. We appreciate it. That was Representative Tara Peters. Give Tara a big wave by. That was Representative Tara Peters from Rolla. They have been hit very hard. Friday, they're having a big cleanup day. We're going to take a break. Gus, you're going to go eat lunch, aren't you? Yeah. Go get you some lunch, and we'll see you back after the break with Representative Cameron Parker from the Boot Hill. Welcome back. This week of Missouri Politics Midweek Update. We are now joined by Representative Cameron Parker from Missouri's Boot Hill, which was hit very hard by the storms Friday night. Representative, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Scott.
So what's the status update? I mean, I know there were fatalities. What communities were hit the hardest, and what is the injury total and the death total as of now?
Yeah, so the last I know that Poplar Bluff was hit very hard. We had one fatality in Butler County. I think there were six that I'm aware of in Wayne County. So I know Poplar Bluff, that area. Kennett had some damage, but not to the extent that Poplar Bluff. And then around Piedmont had a lot of damage.
And the kindergarten center right in Poplar Bluff was pretty well decimated, correct?
It was, and there was a mobile home area right there close to it. So, Scott, my husband is his office is about half a mile from that kindergarten center, or maybe a mile, just down the road. And so, luckily, they didn't have any damage, but it's unbelievable. If you go through that area right now, just that yellow insulation is just strong as far as you can. It just littered the whole area.
I guess your husband's got a lot to say grace over right now. He's a Farm Bureau agent, correct?
He is. So he has been so
working 24/7. Yeah.
He is not the happiest person right now, but we're blessed. He's blessed. I mean, I know that we've had some fatalities, and prayers for that family that just have to continue going on. Where they don't have a home and they don't have anything, their belongings. Somebody said this the other day, and I think it just resonated. When you see folks picking up their belongings, and maybe Governor Kehoe said this, one armful at a time. I couldn't imagine, could not imagine. So,
I obviously know a lot of folks in Poplar Bluff, and I felt there was a special relationship Mike Kehoe has with really all of Southeast Missouri. It's just a little different. He's not from Southeast Missouri. The only way he really should have that relationship is because he's been there so many times. and you know so many
Right.
people by name. These things, I think it's good. I always think it's a positive. Sometimes it comes off like a photo op almost, and it's a little sing-song. I was very impressed with, I was very surprised, I should say, by how much it meant to folks that Mike Kehoe took the time to come down to Butler County.
Oh yeah, and I think anytime you see your governor show up
Yeah.
shortly thereafter. I mean, you expect, oh well, they're going to send their people or this or that, but him boots on the ground right there, walking through the kindergarten center, seeing the devastation firsthand, and that's what it is, devastation. I mean, so it's terrible. It could be worse, but and it's good that the governor came down and was able to come down. So.
Yeah, I just, he's been there so many times. I think he builds those relationships. And to have him personally on the ground, it meant a lot to people. Even if they just saw it on Facebook, I could tell that
Right.
actually, I don't know that it always means a ton to folks when a politician comes to town. But I think in this case it did. I saw Robert Nodell said there was an immediate call by Eric Schmidt to him to see what he could do to help.
Right. And when you have folks that just wherever they're at, they drop what they're doing and they come or they call or they send help. I mean, that's what you're wanting, especially like I said, when you've lost everything and you don't know what your next turn is going to be.
Yeah.
It's important to have those folks, the Butler County EMS, Robbie and them there just helping every step of the way, because what do you do? When you
Well,
when
it's
you lost everything?
when I was mayor there, we had a tornado hit just north of town, and you really your local folks get everything staged, and then your state folks come in and add a layer, but you really have to rely on that. The federal government has the money to really make an impact here, and it's folks like you who can get a hold of SEMA, who can get a hold of FEMA, you can get a hold of Jason Smith, where maybe not everybody can, or Eric Schmidt. It's really that FEMA money that's going to have to come in and be the lasting thing that helps folks.
Well, and we have to continue to let the folks know, hey, you got to report this. If you just had this kind of damage, they need to know what our damage was far and wide. I went through Kennett, I guess, yesterday, 2 days ago, and they had tons of damage too. Obviously, no fatalities, but lots and lots of damage that you don't, unless you see it firsthand, you don't experience what those folks are going through.
So right now, I guess the cleanup is ongoing. I know Poplar Bluff schools are out this week. They're going to have to make some adjustments on how they take care, especially those little kindergartners. What is the prognosis? When do you think that school starts and some semblance of normalcy returns?
I don't know. I would, this week for sure. I know the cleanup is underway. I was talking to a member of the Ozark Border Board, and they indicated that we have, I think, as of yesterday, they still had 1,000 customers that did not have utility services. So they thought they would have all the utility restored, electrical services to those folks. So, once we get the electric back up and running, I would not be surprised if they're not out at least a portion of next week too, half of next week, maybe. When is Butler County or Poplar Bluff's spring break? Was it this?
It was last week. Yeah.
It was last week. Okay.
Week.
So, yeah, so they may have another extended week. I feel like, within a week's time, it'll get up and running. So,
yeah, it feels. I mean, the truth is things start to move on, and I think folks like that degree of normalcy that they can start to grab onto. Let's talk about the legislative session. It probably seems like an eternity ago, especially. Being a state rep, you have everybody calling you, relying on you to get them connected to resources. Having a husband who's probably working 24/7 out doing claims, the legislative session probably seems like 2 months ago. But it does. The first half wrapped up. It felt like the House had a pretty successful first half of session.
Yeah, it did. I loved, I guess, Thursday before we broke for spring break, when Governor Kehoe and the Republican reps and senators were out on the lawn, kind of announcing, hey, this is what we've got done. This is where we're going. I thought, it felt good. It felt like everybody's moving in the same direction. And so it feels like
I didn't see that. I didn't see what you mean there. It does feel like that everybody's moving in the same direction about St. Louis. It looks like the House cares a little bit more about the world outside 270. The Senate seems extremely focused. I wouldn't say focused, obsessed, actually, on the city of St. Louis. Is it not time in the second half of session for the Senate to start looking at the whole world outside 270 where people actually voted for them?
Well, I agree with you there. I mean, we do not want to turn a blind eye to Southeast Missouri or anywhere
I think
else
you've
in the
done
state.
plenty for St. Louis for the next 10, 20, 30 years. You've
We're
focused
good,
on
right?
St. Louis a lot, but right now, there's no health plans in rural Missouri. They're about to run glyphosate out of producing it. I mean, if you're not on the back of a St. Louis phone book, that really is all that's. I mean, the only win. I mean, the trans stuff that's St. Louis stuff. You know that. At some point, does somebody not raise their hand in the Senate and say, "Hey, what about the rest of the state?"
Yeah. Well, and I hope, Scott, that we can take this unity and move forward and get these other things, these healthcare that we're trying to get, these other issues that we have going on. But it seems
I love your optimism.
Senate's House is working. I mean, that's what everybody says. 3 years, it could blow up. I've only been there 3 years. It could blow up, next week when we go back. But boy, it does seem like this session, everybody's kind of moving and getting along and working. We're all working.
I agree with you. I think if you're a lawyer or if you live on Skinker, it's working for you. I think it's been successful, but I think to really call it a success for anybody that lives west of Lindbergh, you're going to have to probably do some things for rural Missouri, right? And I guess my question would be, when you come back to your caucus on Monday, is the speaker just going to have to take some of the St. Louis Senate's agenda items and put them in his desk until they answer for rural Missouri?
I think so.
I mean, honestly, what does Justin Brown say was done for his district? What does Lincoln Huff say? What does Curtis Trent say? What does Jamie Berger? What does Jason Bean say? Really got done for. I mean, I know that Carl LeMay's district and Steve Roberts' districts have been very well attended to by the Missouri Senate. But what does Rusty Black's district have?
Yeah, right. No, we have a lot to do. And I'm just hoping this cohesiveness of us, like it seems like everybody's kind of working and getting. I hope that will continue to benefit the rest of the state.
I will. I look forward to interviewing the members of Senate leadership in the next 2 weeks and asking them that question. And I wonder what they'll say, where their constituents rank in priority to Carl LeMay and Steve Roberts. So let's talk about, what do you want to see happen in the second half?
I've got, just personally, I've got a hearing aid bill that I would like to get pushed through. There's a couple of things, but there's some things that we would like to get done for Southeast Missouri. I mean, we have some budget issues that we would like to help our area. That's a couple of the things that I would like to see done. So
yeah, I think if you don't sell glyphosate, there's not going to be a Boot Hill. If they stop selling glyphosate in this country, there's not going to be a Boot Hill.
Yeah,
there's just not going to be a Boot Hill. Now, I know the lawyers in St. Louis don't care about that until they want to eat supper. Right. But that's it's the things you always count on being there, like supper. When that's not there anymore, you could do all the MAGA you want. If there's no supper, it's a whole different calculation.
Yeah, and that's what our farmers do. They take care of us. They feed the world, so we've got to protect them. And
they're on our team.
They're the absolute 100%.
And the healthcare program. I mean, honestly, if this bill doesn't pass, you'll see another generation of people in rural Missouri that don't have access to healthcare. They'll die sooner, and I get it. I totally understand. If you're someone on Del Mar, you don't give a damn. But maybe it's time for the folks that actually elect the folks that run the state Senate. You've cared about Del Mar. They're good. We'll see how this works. I hope it does work. But it might be time to remember the rest of the state and the folks that actually vote for the Republicans that have these supermajorities.
Right. Yeah, and what you were saying about the health care, I mean, there's many of my constituents and actually my family members that is a huge deal. They don't have the health care that they need.
People talk about hospitals closing. If you don't have insurance, you can't access the health care. It doesn't matter if the hospital's right across the street. If you don't have insurance, you can't go in there and get health care. I think people look at this a little odd. If you create consumers, businesses will innovate and go to those consumers. Right now, you're basically denying consumers It is an odd strategy the urban folks have toward the rural folks, and it is odd the rural folks don't stand up and say we're doing nothing else for you until you take our concerns seriously. Let's talk. We did a bracket. Speaking of to change the subject,
Okay.
I mean we could talk all day about how rural folks get shafted by our own folks. We did a bracket. Me, Jake, Kelton, even Gussie did one. I have my final four. Have you done a bracket yet, by the way?
I have. Yeah, hang on. Let me grab it.
All right, perfect.
Yep, I've got it. It may be unpopular. So.
All right, give me your. Let's start with the Elite Eight out of the South. I have Brian Seitz' University of Michigan versus Jason Cable Rose, Michigan State, with Seitz winning to the Final Four. What do you have?
So the Elite Eight out of the South. Okay, so where did you say yours is? Where? Let me see.
I had Brian Seitz' Michigan beating Jason Cable Rose, Michigan State to go to the Final Four.
No,
It's the Auburn bracket.
Okay, I have Auburn.
Auburn? Okay, I have Robert Nodell's favorite town in the world besides Poplar Bluff, the University of Memphis, playing the Mizzou Tigers in the Elite Eight, and Mizzou going to the Final Four. Who do you have?
Is that on the
West?
Which is at the bottom? The West is that the bottom one on the same side?
Yes.
Okay, I have Florida.
And you have Florida beating Mizzou? Kelton's
Barely.
never going to forgive you.
I love Mizzou, but I saw Florida play in that event. They did well. They have number 10. I think he's not even a guard, but he's tough if he comes to play. So I told you mine might be unpopular.
Yeah, I would have asked you if I know it's going to be this unpopular. So I have in the East, the top of the other side, I have Duke playing the college that Jack Cardetti's son goes to, the University of Wisconsin, and Cardetti's son's college of Wisconsin beating Duke. Who do you have?
Oh gosh, I have. See, mine's maybe terrible. I have Arizona playing Alabama and Arizona winning.
Yeah, there's a former rep from Northeast Missouri that played at Arizona. So in the Midwest, I have SIU Edwardsville going to the Sweet 16, but they get beat by Bill Eigels' Purdue Boilermakers, and then Purdue plays USC in the Elite Eight, and Bill Eigels' Purdue Boilermakers go to the Final Four. Who do you have?
Oh gosh, I have Houston playing Tennessee, and I have Tennessee going.
I didn't even know Houston had a basketball team, if you want the truth. So in the matchup at the Final Four, I have Brian Seitz' University of Michigan versus Mizzou. I have Mizzou winning. Who do you have going to the national championship game?
So I have Auburn playing Florida, and I have Florida.
I have Cardetti Jr. versus Bill Eigel. I picked Bill Eigels' Boilermakers to go to the championship game and play Mizzou. Who do you have playing them?
I have Arizona playing Tennessee, and I have Tennessee winning. So it's like an SEC matchup again.
Well, you are super SEC. So in the title game, I have Mizzou versus Eigel, and I have Mizzou winning. Because I'm a homer, and I couldn't live with Kelton if I didn't.
Yes. Well, sorry, Kelton. I have Florida.
All right. Can we turn the Kelton cam on? Kelton, who do you have in your Elite Eight and Final Four? Jake wore a Royal. Tomorrow we have our selection show. Jake wore a Royal shirt to work today, so he's like the Tower Grove Technical College. I think he's got winning. Gussie, who'd Gussie pick to win it all? You've got Gussie. Gussie's part of our selection show, by the way. He went with Duke. So you've got Florida, right?
Florida, yes.
I have Mizzou. Kelton obviously has Mizzou. Who does Jake have? I mean, wearing a Royal shirt, that's not exactly known for picking winners. But
he has Bill Eigels' school winning it.
He has Bill Eigels' Purdue Boilermakers winning. So Gussie, Duke, me and Kelton, Mizzou, you Florida. All right. Well, you're more than welcome to enter in. We're gonna give some money to folks that are recovering from the storms.
Well,
I mean, it's gonna be a split, right? So, Cameron, you've been in politics. You know, like if you win this, you still have to give your 200 to the storm victims,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah, I
Yes,
mean, clearly.
100%,
We may have to explain that to Gussie. I'm not sure he's on board. I think he's going to give him 50 of his right now as his last offer. Oh, look at this. Jeff Fernetti. He's actually makes these pasta sauce and an Italian dressing sauce. Look at this. It's cool, huh?
Wow.
Yeah, who'd have thought? I was so proud of him. He got his first Post-Dispatch hit piece. It's a rite of passage. It kind of marks him as an up-and-comer in the Republican Party. I was happy for him.
I saw that. I think the day after that, he brought some dessert to the House floor. It was amazing, or to the House. So.
Do it like Yona. He should have. Jeff, if you're listening, let me give you a piece of unsolicited advice. This is just white trash advice. Call the Post-Dispatch. Ask them for all the extra copies. Buy them all, whatever they cost. Give them to all the members. Send them out to your local party people, the committee folks. Make sure everybody sees how much the Post hates you. John Deal played the Post like a fiddle. It was like a Stradivarius. He would get them to say all these nasty things. Then he would send them to everybody and make sure everybody knows that they hate him. Jeff, do me a favor. Call right now. Get all the extra copies. You want everyone to see your hit piece. You're joining the ranks of a Chad Perkins, of a Mike Kehoe, of a Eric Schmidt, Mary Elizabeth Coleman. They've all had them. I've had them. Now you've got one. Congratulations, bud. Way to go. Which leads into my plug for our Creepers and Copers, John Combest's book for new it's on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. Creepers and Copers. It's really, I think it's meant to be a serious advice book, but John's sense of humor is I find so hilarious. It almost becomes a comedy book. So Creepers and Copers. Cameron, you'd be very well. You have a daughter, very, very beautiful daughter in school. This would be a terrific book to buy her. It's an easy read. It's funny. It kind of teaches you to weed through some of the dudes in your life.
I will absolutely get that for her. That might go in her Easter basket.
And even if you don't, if you don't take a lot of pertinent life advice, it's funny as hell. So you're good either way. Cameron Parker, I know you've got a lot going on. I very much appreciate it, Representative. And folks can reach out to you on social media if they need some help from the state or federal government.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for the time. We were very grateful.
Thank you, Scott. See ya.
That was Representative Cameron Parker and Tara Peters. They are going through a lot right now. It is a very tough time, but people pull together. They pull together in a very different way in rural Missouri. The co-ops have sent trucks. I mean, if you went from Rolla to Poplar Bluff, you probably could see a dozen different co-op truck logos of folks pulling together and getting everything back in line. I want to thank Cameron. I want to thank Kelton, Gussie. Tomorrow, at some point, Kelton, what do you say, around 3 o'clock, we might post the NCAA selection show. Jake dressed in a royal shirt. Kelton, what an oxymoron is it that in order to pick winners, Jake wore a royal shirt?
Seems very ironic to me.
I mean, it's just so Jake in his royal shirt's here, Kelton in his beard. Gussie and I will make our picks. If you want to join in, please do so. Kelton will have I think you'll have our brackets up today, right? To promote it?
Yep.
And then you'll have the selection show. I'll break down how I brought, why I picked, let's say, not Yale. Brian Seitz's University of Michigan would beat not Yale. Not Yale was A&M. I should have wrote A&M. I just wrote not Yale because I've never really liked anyone from Yale. Hopefully you'll come back, watch the show, the selection show tomorrow, and then we'll be back here next week after spring break for This Week in Missouri Politics.